What's going on, ChavezzSlovakia? How you doing? If you can see, not only do I have a fantastic shirt, I also have dramatic mood lighting. And that's because my other light has died. It's been like 4 years or so, and it has lasted this entire time, no problems. I show up yesterday, it's like blinking like this one was doing during that Elden Ring video I was shooting. That's that plug, right? And then I go to take it out, the entire light explodes. Do I actually have the broken light? Hold on. Well, shouts out to my wife for actually taking out the trash from upstairs too. That's some legit stuff. I forgot to do it this morning before the trash came. My wife apparently did it for me. But anyways, the whole bottom came off. So, dramatic mood lighting. I asked you guys for suggestions for vids. You guys love casual Geographic, so I'm sure you don't mind me shooting this instead. And then the other videos you guys requested are very long. And I'll get to that, but my sister apparently likes casual Geographic, messaged me on Facebook Messenger, which is not something I use, but I'll take it. Let's get into it. If you never saw it, you wouldn't believe it was real. This is for you, Tinalina. That's for you. That's for you.
Nah, cause y'all seem to think I know everything like I'm a walking encyclopedia, but if I'm being honest here, I know what that was supposed to be like. I had to go in the comments for this. And apparently that's not a deformity. That's actually what they're supposed to look like. It's a Damascus goat. It originated in Middle East countries and is primarily used for meat and milk. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say God makes mistakes, but that skull makes me think his draft and post buttons are way too close to each other.
I've seen that skull before on a conspiracy website talking about cyclopses. And you can see it. It makes perfect sense where you would look at that and think this is not a natural occurrence.
Also, a Damascus named God won a prize for most beautiful goat in a contest in 2008. Proving that some of y'all will lie unprovoked for no reason.
Right!
Y'all can call him beautiful, but tell me this goat thing crawls straight out the Goonies. They actually look somewhat normal as babies, but then I guess puberty hits them like Hiroshima.
Bro, that's how some of y'all look before and after COVID. Some of y'all before COVID they actually look real like this, and then afterwards, BAM!
Goats, and I truly mean that. And I read some comments on the internet like Hiroshima. It's honestly the pug of goats, and I truly mean that. And I read some comments on the internet saying, oh, he just wants love. I rebuke that. He wants my life essence. We played God with goats, now we got Barnyard and Dark Souls, and I do not like it. And I could have sworn Satan took the form of a goat. Actually, this makes a lot of sense now.
Yes.
You know y'all don't gotta tag me in every animal video, because like, what do you expect me to say? Like, his existence looks like pain. And for y'all that are gonna sit there and tell me that he actually looks cute, I pay way too much for context for y'all to lie about what's in front of my face. Crazy thing is, this is the second most disturbing goat video I've ever seen.
Wow.
Hello.
Don't you do my boy like that. I love this guy.
Absolutely not.
And known creature.
Yo, I like how he was judging them, right? But then he showed me a goat video I actually like. I like that goat. The way that goat was staring at that guy.
Kids in New York are a heart attack.
What the fuck is that thing? It's the fucking bat! It's got the fucking virus!
I both
It's got the fucking virus!
and cannot fully explain
That's
what
good,
that is.
dude.
It's called a Kulugo, but it's also known as a flying lemur, even though there's somehow two lies in that one name. They don't fly, they glide, and since they spend most of their lives in the trees, they basically just airdrop themselves from branch to branch. And it's not a lemur. Lemurs are primates, making them related to gorillas, chimps, and us. But this thing isn't a primate. Whoever named it would probably name an atheist faith. They use that stretchy membrane called a patagium to glide like flying squirrels, and they can travel 650 feet without stopping. That's 200 meters, or a little bit less than 2 football fields. But it's not a flying squirrel. There was a time people thought they were just God's rough draft of a bat, but Kalugos aren't related to bats either. And if you look at the order they're in, Dermotera, they're the only living members. It's like pulling up to a family reunion and finding out you're the only one.
And
because their entire
So this reminds me, I have seen this one before. We have reacted to this before. I don't care. We're gonna watch. We're gonna finish it.
Personality involves flying. They're too slow and awkward to survive on the ground. And for an animal that lives in the trees, they're pretty mid-climbers. They're so bad at life that being nocturnal is probably the only thing keeping them alive. Mother Kalugos will carry their babies everywhere for the first 6 months, which made some people believe it was a marsupial, like some type of deformed air koala. But it's none of those things. So what the is it? Well, scientists performed genetic analyses on them. Basically a 23andMe for a flying carpet. And it turns out their closest evolutionary relative are primates.
That's
pretty much the closest you can get to primates without actually being one. Which means this dehydrated Dollar Tree chipmunk is more related to you than it is to an actual squirrel or bat. The more you know.
Anyone know what this
Here's why you should never touch this.
It looks so cute.
That is Glaucus atlanticus. It's a type of nudibranch, but it's also known as a sea slug. It's also a gastropod mollusk. I'm not finna bore you with a whole biology lesson, but gastropod means it's related to snails, and mollusk means it pulls up to the same cookout as octopus, squid, and cuttlefish. Also, touching one like this is a creative way of saying you want to pay more for health insurance. Because these slugs will eat venomous siphonophores like the Portuguese man of war and steal its venom to use to handle its own light work. It stores the venom in its tissue, so if a predator or a person gets too close, they'll get 50 shades of around and find out. Do I cuss too much? Like, I know kids watch me, but then again, they watch Family Guy before 4th grade, so I don't even know anymore. And just like the Portuguese Sorrel Scuffle, the Glaucus can still hand out painful life lessons even after its soul's already ascended. Basically, they don't need to be alive to put you in the hospital. So if you see one on the beach, it's definitely a look but don't touch. Because if anything's that small and that colorful, there's probably a good reason they don't need to hide. Exhibit A. This blue vibe can be found off the coast of South Africa and European waters off the east coast of Australia because Australia, and some have even been found in the Gulf of California. They're also hermaphrodites that mate by sword fighting and stabbing each other. Normally in nature, the winner gets the female, but here the loser becomes one. The more you know. It's the story of how 76 beavers were parachuted into Idaho, and yes, that is a thing that happened. So in the 1940s, the people of Idaho had beef with the buck-toothed beaver population, mainly because their habit of taking down trees was causing floods in people's yards and damage to gardens. But because beavers actually contribute to society, unlike some of the people complaining about them, the government decided that instead of squad wiping them, it would just be better to move them to another area code. The only problem was the moving process for beavers involved putting them in boxes and Ubering them via horses and mules. This was the 40s, there was no beaver U-Haul. These boxes would overheat and the beavers would become so stressed that they would refuse to eat, and the horses and mules carrying them eventually got pressed too. It was a bad time for everyone involved. So they realized they had to get creative. And apparently creative meant tying the boxes to parachutes from World War II and literally airdropping them into the Idaho wilderness. But of course, you can't just eat a beaver out of a plane without being sure you weren't just committing beaver slaughter with extra slugs. So they experimented the best and safest ways to drop beavers from a plane, and the test subject they used was an old been-around-the-block beaver named Geronimo. You really can't make this up. After using old man Geronimo to figure out the perfect height and area to drop the beavers, it was time. August 14, 1948 was D-Day, as 76 beavers were loaded into crates and flown in a twin engine where they skydived to their new home. And these furry paratroopers had a 99% success rate. But only because one of the beavers managed to escape and jump out of the box when he was 76 feet from the ground and took himself off the census when he met the ground. Other than that, the rest of the Air Force beavers managed to land safely on the ground and were able to crawl out the box and explore their new neighborhood and begin a new beaver life. And to most people, this was a success. PETA wasn't happy about it, but you know, PETA gon' PETA. Also, it turns out each parachuting beaver cost taxpayers about $7 a beaver, so I'd say it worked out pretty well.
That's better rates than we get now. We're stuck in this neo-federalism deathscape.
Today we have better ways to control the beaver population, but something about 76 beavers being airmailed and parachuted like some DLC just brings me joy. One of my favorite all-time animal facts was that the CIA once tried to weaponize otters for some reason, because the 60s were a weirder, druggier time, I guess. But they were low-key onto something. Because otters are smart enough to use tools, tough enough to survive the freezing ocean without blubber. They'll square up and run fades with jaguars and caiman, I've seen them do it. And even though they look like plush toys, they have the power to seriously f*** you up if you give them a reason. They're like honey badgers with better swim. So someone in the CIA created a report called the Otter Dossier, and I'm gonna read you my favorite parts. According to the Otter Dossier, they can be trained to climb ladders and stairs, can carry objects underwater, open zippers, throw objects with their mouth, and turn on faucets. They somehow figured out that a motivated water weasel can chew through a zinc sheet, and I honestly couldn't tell you how they found that one out. There's a lot of other stuff in there too, like how to properly take care of otter pups, because apparently they get diarrhea. A lot. But by far my favorite part is where they say otters are easy to train, but they can become too devoted to humans, which can lead to their destruction.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, same. The report also mentions that they're almost impossible to transport because an otter that feels confined can and will attempt to destroy anything trying to escape. The report also specifically says never to take food from an otter because, and I might be paraphrasing here, take their food and they take your fingers. And in fact, the exact quote was, never take food from an otter, particularly that which he has just caught or suffer severe mauling. Yeah, someone got really up for them to put that there. Honestly, if you have the chance, please read the whole report. I'm gonna put it in the comments. I mean, there's a chance the report's fake and none of this ever happened, but it's so detailed, like too much effort went into it for it to be a lie. Moral of this video, otters are smart, nasty, and they give less than a prom night virgin. Basically weapons of otter destruction.
Turkeys.
Cute. If it's fake though, I would honestly be devastated. You know, I was checking this date, right? Because I was looking over here, I have the list. I was finding when the last time we did this reaction, right? This video came out back in December of 2021. It feels like so much longer than that, doesn't it? This basically just happened. Like 3 months ago.
Performing demon ritual on past tense cat.
Past tense instead of dead.
So there's actually a really interesting and complex reason why turkeys do this. Turkeys are so fucking stupid that it's actually medically fascinating. Like, they're not dumb enough to stare at the sky during a storm and reverse baptize themselves. That's actually a well-known myth. But they are brain cell deficient enough to not tell the difference between a threat to their way of life and an expired cat. It's likely the turkeys are curious about the past tense cat, but too paranoid to get too close to the corpse because, again, turkeys have no idea it's dead and no way of knowing if it's dangerous. What you're seeing is a prey response that only an animal locked in the basement of the food chain can come up with. As for the circling, birds like turkeys, chickens, and pheasants will instinctively follow the tail of the bird in front of them. It's a behavior that helps keep them together as a flock, since holding hands isn't really an option. So pretty much these turkeys are stuck in a never-ending cycle of follow the leader, but none of them actually identify as one, so they just keep going. And fun fact, this bird was almost the mascot of America, since a guy named Ben Franklin thought bald eagles were cowardly scavengers that didn't deserve the clout. But if you YouTube what a bald eagle really sounds like, he might have been on timing. So yeah, turkeys are, I'm not gonna say they're stupid, but I'm not gonna say they're aware of the world either.
Thank you.
Someone asked me what I think the most underrated animal in the world is, and I instantly thought of this picture.
Okay.
Goats really do be goating. The bottom of their hooves have soft pads that contour to the surface they're climbing, which allows them to be a middle finger to the laws of physics. This isn't photoshopped. These are the tree-climbing goats of Morocco. They figured out that the fruits of the argan tree are an easy source of food, and when nature says climb, goats say how high. This is an alpine ibex. They'll scale up the Cingino Dam in Italy just to lick the salt off the stones and let the rest of the world wonder how. For y'all to think goats are just some hippie-free climbing sheep, they eat their Wheaties. Some male mountain goats can tip the scales at over 300 pounds. A mountain goat once caught a fade with a grizzly, and it was the bear that got turned into a trophy. Got smoke for you too if you want it. Hikers have been warned when going through the Olympic National Trail in Washington because the mountain goats there have started harassing people. The reason is because the mountain goats there have gotten addicted to the salt in human sweat and pee, and they'll press you just to get their fix. Peeing on a trail in their area code is like a Batman signal to a feeding goat. One actually took a man off the census and wouldn't even let first responders get near his body. Those goats became such a menace that they had to be airdropped somewhere else. The media won't admit it, but out of all the bears, cougars, and wolves, goats are the real G's, but like lasagna, they move in silence. You only have 3 seconds. If you can't find it, you're already dead.
I literally, every time I see this picture, I only know where it is because I've seen the picture before. Every single time.
Yeah, so fun fact. This animal sends more people to the ER than bears, wolves, and cougars combined. The American bison is the heaviest thing with a heartbeat in North America, maxing out at over 2,200 pounds. They can also grow to 10 feet long, run you down at 35. If you try to run from the smoke by hopping over a fence, a motivated bison can clear a 6-foot fence. Now, there's 2 reasons why this guy is seriously testing his life insurance. One is because they're pretty much legally blind, so like rhinos, they respond to anything that moves with violence. And 2 is because a bison is a great value meal for predators. Wolves and grizzlies have been known to smoke an appa pack, and mountain lions will target unaccompanied baby bison. That generational trauma means a bison is more likely to turn a person into a chalk outline if they get out of line. The difference between a bear and an animal like a moose or bison is a bear looks at you and has to decide if you're even worth the effort. A bison assumes you're going to turn him into calories and will barrel roll you first. But because bison in national parks are used to being around people, they're usually pretty chill unless you get too close. Only problem is, getting too close is how pictures like this happen. Someone had to go home with no pants and explain that she lost it because she couldn't social distance from a tank with horns. Yeah, don't do that. Because bison isn't just a name. It's what your parents are going to say at your casket if Appa decides to turn up on you.
Horrifying sound of a woman becoming a hashtag.
This happened to me last time. Play it.
The biggest mistake you could make is going to save that woman. Because that's not a woman getting turned into a headline. That was a female mountain lion in heat. Female cougars will often make these shrieking, blood-curdling screams when they're in estrus. It's like their Batman signal for getting laid. Answering that call when it's not for you is how you meet Batman's parents. Of course, I'm exaggerating. Cougars are way more afraid of you and will probably go the other way if you pull up on them. What won't go away are the bricks in your pants after you try to be a hero and make eye contact with this walking steroid. And I know it's not related, but I'm still going to mention it. Tigers have been known to imitate the sounds of their prey to fool them into a false sense of security before they turn them into a hashtag. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, this is a margay and they do the exact same thing with baby monkeys. Now, I'm not saying the cougars do it on purpose, but I am saying that nature is a bitch like that. Also, I forgot to mention that cougars tend to scream while mating. So if you're ever alone in bed and hear a woman on a Tinder date with Joe from you, don't worry. It's just cougars getting more action than you.
So I just spent this whole time, right? Like, I'm trying to send this message to confirm to my sister. I was like, yo, I'm gonna let you know when I shoot this video, right? I send it. I get an immediate text. I'm like, oh, dope. My sister like really hooking me up. It's another casual Geographic video. Jesus, guys.
know penguins will sell themselves, but like in that way. I mean,
did you guys hear the rest of the awful things that penguins do? Later, I'll splice it in.
Explain. This is an Adelie penguin. If you hear a messed up penguin fact, it usually involves them. So basically, Adelies build their nests out of piles of pebbles, which means two things. Pebbles are a penguin's form of currency, and the penguin with the most pebbles is considered the most attractive. So female Adelie penguins will offer their bodies to males in exchange for a rock, and yeah, it's exactly what I'm making it sound like. Sometimes the female will give it up to a male in exchange for a pebble, even though she already has a mate waiting for her back at the nest. Scientists can't really confirm this, but it's believed the females do this so that if their mate gets packed up by a seal or something, they still have a backup. Doesn't stop there, because a lot of times the female will pretend to be interested in the single male, and right when the male thinks he's about to get it in, she takes the pebble and runs back to her actual mate. The best example I could think of is if you buy a girl a drink only for her to take it and bring it over to her man on the other side of the bar. Basically, these penguins pull a Cardi B, but, you know, without the condom. And before you feel bad for them, just remember that male Adelies have been known to have relations with injured females, chicks, penguin corpses, and one even hooked up with the ground.
Yeah.
To completion.
Literally,
are dressed as Wall Street
Kendrick
brokers,
Lamar.
and they have the moral compass of one too.
All right. Jesus.
Friendly reminder that reindeer will eat this special magic mushroom that'll get them so high that they'll wander around aimlessly and make a bunch of weird drunken noises. And the mushroom's toxic to us, but if you drink the pee of a reindeer that's eating it, you too can get elevated and hella faded. Basically, getting R. Kelly'd by a reindeer will have you believing you can fly as well. The more you know.
Thanks. Thank you for that ending little snippet there. Well, guys, that's my time. Thank you guys for coming to hang out. Tina, I hope you really appreciated the vid. I messaged you about it. It is done, and I'm going to post it as soon as I can. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you around. Peace.